Hey there guys, thanks for tuning into my latest video. I thought I'd do a tutorial this evening for you. There's been a few questions asked on the communities, on the Facebook page, the YouTube channel. I've had a couple of messages through Instagram and Twitter. A lot of you out there would like to learn how to draw a nose, a realistic nose. Not a cartoon nose which is outlined, but a realistic nose. So I thought I'd give you a little look at a couple of pieces of work that I've recently done. So this was one picture that I finished about a couple of weeks ago. You can see we've got a fairly realistic nose there. And this is Mr. Mulligan. This is a piece that I did 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And again, a realistic nose again. It's not a cartoon nose. So I thought that I'd run you through how I achieve that type of look. I will time lapse some of it because obviously you don't want to see me doing the whole process, but I'll stop and show you what I'm doing each step of the way. Equipment that I'm going to be using, I've got 3 pencils. I'm using a Caran d'Ache pencil. I've got a 2H, an HB, a 2B. I'm also going to be using a Mono Zero eraser. So this is a very fine tipped eraser, very useful for bringing out highlights in certain areas. And lastly but not least, I'm going to be using a kneaded eraser. It's like blue tack or a bit of Play-Doh. Again, brilliant for lifting value off of the page. So without further ado, I am going to crack on with this. I'm going to start with the 2B. Start with the 2H. I thought we'd go with this reference. This is actually a piece that I'm going to be starting within the next couple of days, so don't forget to check that out. Have a look at the full video. I'll do a time lapse of this. It's probably going to take me 25-30 hours. So check that out. That'll be my next video. But basically we're going to just start. We're going to try and find an area that we can get some value on. Doesn't need to be perfect at this stage. Just finding a few angles. Now I'm using the 2H pencil here because it's very light. I'm actually using an Arches paper. It's Arches Aquel Colour. I got this from a local art shop. One of the things that you need to make sure you do when you're using these types of papers is if you use the smooth side, so that's usually the back side of the page, rather than the front side, it will give you certainly if you're trying to do portraits, it will give you a much smoother finish without necessarily needing to blend an awful lot. So I'm just finding this point here on the nose. I'm just outlining that. You probably heard me say earlier on that we don't outline, we don't ever want an outline on any of the drawings, but to start with I do need to find something that gives me a indication as to where I'm going to start adding value. I think this needs to come across. Okay, something like that. This doesn't need to be absolutely perfect because this is really just a tutorial. So what I'm going to do now, if you can see from the reference picture here, I'll time lapse this next bit, but I'm basically going to start colouring this area or shading this area here and here. I'm going to start bringing out the darker areas again using this 2H pencil. Once I finish with the 2H, I'll come back on. I'll talk you through the next step, which will then be going to the HB pencil. So I will see you in probably about 30 seconds. Okay, welcome back. That didn't take too long. As you can see, what I've now started to get is I've laid a 2H base down. I'm starting to look for some of these darker areas on the nose. I've got a slightly bigger reference here, but again, if you start to look on this right hand side of the nose here, This is the darker area, this is a dark area recessed here. Underneath the nose is dark, and around the bottom is a shadowed area. This area here is the highlight. This is what's going to give the illusion of a 3D shape or a rounded shape. We've also got two rounded areas on either side of the nostril, and then along the nose here, along the ridge or the bridge of the nose there, we've also got a highlighted area, and it's really important that we do pick those up. If I just show you briefly one of my picture that I did, one of the last drawings that I did, again here we can see highlighted area here. This is actually quite a similar nose to the little girl that I'm going to be drawing here, but the nostrils again are highlighted, lightest point here, and the bridge of the nose is highlighted. So going back to the drawing, you can start to see that this is what I've got. Now as I'm putting this foundation layer down, what I'm doing is I'm starting to fill the tooth of the paper with some hard graphite. What this is going to allow me to do is, as I go into the softer pencils, it isn't going to give me, if I just show you, if I go in the corner here, if I just use this as a 2B, if I start to add value to the paper here, what you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it on there, let me see if I can zoom in. So what we have is, yes, there's a value being laid on the paper, but it's really grainy, it's rather grainy, it has white dots in it, and that's because the graphite in this 2B pencil isn't sitting very deep, very low in the tooth of the paper. So what we have is we have this grainy effect. So what I'm doing is I'm laying down this 2H layer. I'm then going to go into an HB, which hopefully is going to start to fill out the tooth of the paper. So moving on to the HB pencil, I'll just talk you through it a little bit, reference back in. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start finding the darkest areas again. So this edge here, this is a rather dark area, and I have to get some value in this, because this side of the face here, even though it looks highlighted, there has to be some value in there, because if I don't add any value, it just looks flat. Now obviously I'm not going to do this whole picture tonight. This is just a very quick tutorial on how I would draw a nose, and really drawing a nose is no different to drawing anything else. If I was going to draw this hand here, what I'm looking for is darker areas and lighter areas. I'm trying to balance the values out and make sure that the darkest areas, the parts that are away from the light, are the darkest. The areas that are facing the light or towards the light are the lightest. That is what then tricks our minds into believing that the image that we're looking at is three-dimensional, it's a realistic rendition of whatever it is that we're drawing, whether it's a cat, a car. They're all very, very similar. So again, this is a dark area around the nostril here. So I'm just adding this HB. I'm not pressing on too hard at all. I'm just laying it down, just getting some value in there. So again, what I'll do is I'll time lapse the next part. I'll be adding the HB. You might see me pick up the 2H again. So once I'm happy with the value that I'm starting to get with the HB, I will start to go into the lighter areas with the 2H, and then I'll come back to you before I go on to the 2B. See you later on. Okay, I just thought I'd pause there for a second. I'm just showing you now that what I'm actually starting to do is I'm starting to take some of the highlights out. If I show you this darker copy, you can see the top of the nose there. This is the highest point. That's the highest. That's the highlight. So I'm highlighting this, and the bridge of the nose. I'm also taking some value out on the nostrils as well. I'm using a kneaded eraser. You can get these from any art shop. You can. I don't use it, but you can use blue tack, which you can get from anywhere. You can probably nip to a garage or a petrol station now and go and buy some Blu Tack, it works virtually the same. I'm just a little bit finicky because I do a lot of commissioned work for people, and I spend, you know, in excess of 20 hours on some. I don't want to run the risk of the Blu Tack marking the paper, or anything like that. So this is here's the tub for it. This is a Faber-Castell kneaded eraser. I think it cost me £3 maybe from Amazon, so you can get one of those. But all I'm doing is I'm just starting to gently tap away some of the value there. You might have seen, the eagle-eyed viewers out there may have seen me just brushing some of the value in. Again, really important that we do get some of this darker value into certain areas, really just so that we can take it out again. If I wanted to go a little bit lighter there, see, I've not added any more value with any pencil, but you can also see there that as I just start to tap this highlighted area in the nose, on the top of the nose there, that it is bringing the highlight up. So I just thought that I'd stop that quickly and just show you that, just in case some of you weren't too sure. But I think you can kind of see from what we've already got there, only using two pencils, a 2H and an HB, that we are actually getting something that resembles a nose. It's quite realistic looking already. It's probably not exactly the same as this young girl's nose here. When I'm doing this portrait, I will obviously have eyes, and I will have plotted certain things out so that I can make sure that angles are all correct, and with the mouth in there. But I think that you can see where we're going with this. I'm going to start using the 2B now. Not long left. I'll give it another maybe 10 to 15 minutes on this, which will probably be about another 8 or 9 seconds in the time lapse, and then we'll see what we come up with at the end. See you later. Okay, well, I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. It's probably not exactly the same as the photograph there. This is a quick freehand sketch. I hope that I've given you an idea and an indication of how to draw a nose, and you know, really anything to make it look realistic. We've started with the 2H, which is here. Got a base layer down. Went to the HB and then to the 2B. I've used my kneaded eraser to bring out some highlights, like the tip of the nose there, and the bridge of the nose up here. Obviously, if I worked on this a little bit longer, I can make this look much more realistic. But I think as a general idea, I think we've got a decent representation of this little girl's nose. Just finishing touches, just finding those darkest areas. Tip of her nose here, slightly darker. Darken this edge up here. There we go. I'm quite happy with that. I hope that that's taught you something. Give it a go. Remember, all you need: 3 pencils, 2H, HB, 2B, kneaded eraser, little brush, piece of tissue paper would also do, and there we go. That's how I draw a nose. I hope that helped. If you like this video, please hit the like button or the subscribe, or both, or leave me a comment if there's something else you'd like to have a look at drawing, maybe a hat or the girl's ear or hands. A lot of people find hands quite tricky. Leave me a comment down in the bottom and I'll get onto that as soon as I can. Thanks again for watching. See you again.